Hello again everyone, welcome back. On today's video, we're going to be talking about the build that I league started for Season of the Abyssal in PoE2. I am now getting to the top tier of maps, and I've been playing the build the whole time. It's felt great offensively since the Act 2 where I equipped Ember Fussilade, and at that point it just took off. Remnants feels very strong, Archon feels incredibly powerful, and all in all, I think the elemental version of this build, I know the chaos version is all the rave at the moment, everybody's playing it, most of the blood mages are using it, but I really like this elemental version with flame archon. I tried lightning archon as well, it also works decently well, but I think the flame version is a little bit better. But I don't want to waste too much time with the introduction today. Let's get into the build proper. Really quickly, I just want to ask, if you do enjoy the video, consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, help me get monetized, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, so let's have a quick look here at our character. As you can see, we are a blood mage, level 87. We have about nearly 2.5k life, 1k ES, and nearly 160 spirit. We're not worried about armor or evasion or block at the moment. We're elemental capped on everything, but not chaos at the moment. And that's basically the overview. So, looking at our passive tree, as I said, we're a blood mage. A couple of changes this league, so ascendancy was made free. You get this the first time you ascend, and then you have 2 more points. From there, you go into Sunder the Flesh. Your second point is a toss-up between Vitality Siphon and Grasping Wounds. I went Grasping Wounds, but Vitality Siphon is just as good, if not better. Whichever you don't pick as your second, you pick as your third, and lastly, you go into Crimson Power. If you don't want to take Crimson Power, if you're not using an energy shield base, maybe you're trying to go into a little bit of armor, for example, you can then take Gore Spike. That's pretty much it for your ascendancy. You're pretty locked in with a blood mage for spells anyway. For a passive tree, it is as follows. We are doing a fire-based Ember Fussilade, so because of that we take the Archon. The Archon is a fantastic node. This is very easy to get going, you simply need to ignite a target, and this is going to give you 25% more fire damage, converting all of your elemental damage into fire for its duration, and it's a big burst of damage when you get it. I initially started with Archon of Storm, also very easy to proc. However, I do think Volcanic Skin gives you a lot more value than pure power at the current point that I'm at, which is 148 intelligence. So I value this a lot more, and it will also make so your natural Ember Fussilade is going to do a little bit more damage because of all these small amounts of fire damage that you get in pathing. Other than that, we take a few remnant stuff, don't worry about the extra lines here. It's really just because I have this tool, so if we take that off for a moment, you can see that we get about 20% chance of not consuming 1 remnant when you use a skill that consumes a remnant. And then here we get a lot of spell damage if we used or consumed an elemental infusion recently. Other than that, we pat into a bit of recoup. For damage, then we just pat to crit, and more important than that, additional chance to fire projectiles with spell skills. We pat through that with our weapon set 1. You're going to have 2 weapon sets. The first one is going to go into this wheel here, this wheel here, this wheel here, and lastly up here for the reduced skill effect duration. Your other tree is going to go into all of the curse stuff here and here. I add 4 extra points, so I put them in mana regen, but actually you can pat into here and take a little bit more curse magnitude. So that's probably the better option. And that's basically the tree. We also take these nodes here for Archon buff duration and recovery period. Oh, and lastly, elemental equilibrium. This is very important. There are very few ways of generating a lightning remnant in comparison to, say, fire remnants, which are fairly common, I would say. Because of that, and because Ember Fussilade uses lightning, we really like to have elemental equilibrium to help with that, and also we're using Comet as well, which requires a fire, which you can easily sustain if you were just doing regular, but then you wouldn't get any lightning off of your snap. So after quite some testing, I did feel like elemental equilibrium works a lot better to sustain your infusions. And then it's just crit as much as you can, and because we're igniting and shocking, if you can get shield, this one is very good. Like a single point for 30% increased damage is very, very good. So if you can get those, go ahead. And that's pretty much it for the passive tree. You can check it in the description. There's going to be my POB there. Looking at our items, quick look at the uniques first. I'm using Nest and Hope. You don't need to. This just makes so you start recharging energy shield when you are frozen, or you would be frozen, which, because we have still a decent chunk of energy shield, this will help quite a bit. But a regular thawing charm will do just fine. Then we use a stone for stun. Stun is very annoying, so. And lastly, a silver charm. There's also a silver unique one that you can get that will give you one slot, but it's, I think, like 400 exalts at the moment, so I didn't bother. Other uniques, we are using Snake Pit. This is the most expensive piece of the build at the moment. I bought this for about 6 divines, I wanna say, but this makes so you don't have to use fork on your skill. The other ring, very typical for a blood mage for a crit setup. Seed of Cataclysm gives you a lot of crit, a lot of crit spell damage. It does increase the mana cost of your skills, which sucks because we're quite tight on mana, but still it gives you a lot of damage. And it can be a lot better rolled than this one here. As for the rest of our gear is just rares, starting with the boots, nothing impressive here. Resistances, life, and as much movement speed as you can. If you don't need the resistance on your sockets, then you want to socket in all of these maximum life. On your helmet, we have energy shield, life, mana, which you don't need, crit chance, and 2 resistances, very, very good. You can run with damage taken recouped as life, or you can run with just 40% life, your choice. On your gloves, you have same thing, energy shield. This actually doesn't have life, which is pretty bad, so I should replace these. The energy shield is also pretty low, but I did need the resistances, but this is probably the piece that I'm swapping next. Finally, on our belt, we have 2 resistance, not very high, but enough to cap our resistance for now. We have high life, a bit of armor, 3 slots, and that's it. On our chest, we have 2 different runes because I needed a fire resistance to cap my resistance at the time. We have spirit. You need a little bit of spirit to fit everything that we have going right now. We'll talk about that in a second. And then very little chaos res, I'd rather that wasn't there. Cold res, and energy shield, and maximum life. For your weapon, this is a very, very good weapon. You are looking at a couple of things here. You are going to want plus levels, as much as you can for fire. Preferably for all spells, but really for fire is enough. Then you want spell damage, you want fire damage. Damage as extra is also very good. And crit chance, crit damage, very, very good. Cast speed is fine, but it's not fantastic. And lastly, for the new Abyss mods, there's two mods that are very, very good. The one that we have right here goes up to 35% chance for spell skills to fire 2 additional projectiles. This helps a lot. You can also get this on runes, although they're a little bit expensive. And your preferred rune is not even that. Your preferred rune is going to be 2 runes that give you +2, but those are way more expensive as well, but they are definitely the best option you can get. Or you can opt to get the spell damage ones as I did, and that is going to be like 10x per, I believe, so not very expensive. The other mod from Abyss that you also really like is a metric ton of spell damage if the spell costs life. Because you're playing a blood mage, all your spells are going to cost life, so that in turn for you just becomes increased spell damage. So very, very, very good if you can get as well. On our skills, so you get Life Remnant baseline from being a blood mage. You want Harmonic Remnant. This is going to make them be easier to pick up and spawn a little bit more. I also have Clarity here to help with the mana, as I had Spirit that I wasn't using and not enough to use any meaningful Spirit gem extra, so I opted to go with Clarity to ease a little bit on the mana. None of these matter. Then on your Ember Fussilade, you are looking at having Compressed Duration to make it easy to use. Zenith helps a lot with the mana, and when you're above 90% mana, you're going to do a lot more damage. Rising Tempest, we maintain this very easily at all 3 elemental types by using Snap, which has all 3 elements. So this is very, very easy to maintain at max value, and this in turn is going to be 36% more elemental damage. Fantastic for us. Then we have the Liberation, 20% more damage, but it comes with reduction while you're casting. I would only suggest you use this once you have consistently generating more than 1 with each of your casts, like so. Because otherwise you're going to become very slow while casting, and you're going to need to sit there for quite a while casting before you can do any damage. I would not put this on during campaign or anything like that. And lastly, I have considered casting here. Consider casting is probably the one I'd swap, maybe. Either Consider Casting or the Liberation would be the ones that I would be swapping. Probably the Liberation, actually, once I could get this gem here, Atalui's Bloodlighting. This looks very, very, very powerful. PoB cannot compute it, so I'm not sure, but this looks incredibly strong, and I need to buy it to test it out, but this looks like it would probably be the best support. As for the rest of our skills, we have Snap, as I said. Snap is going to be there for 2 things. One is going to generate us a ton of infusion remnants. All of those remnants are going to be random, no matter the frozen, shocked, or ignite status that the enemy has, because of elemental equilibrium on the tree, and you're going to support it with Harmonic Remnants too. You're going to support it with Rising Tempest, Elemental Focus, and Magnified Area for more area. If you have an extra perfect jewel, you can unlock the 6th slot and just give it more damage if you wish. But Snap is here to basically funnel your Ember Fussilade and also generate a lot of remnants. Lightning Warp is here to give us a little bit of mobility, also generate a remnant when you cull something, but more important than that, giving you the cull itself. We supported it with Consider Casting, Momentum, Rapid Casting, and Magnified Area as well. Frostbomb is giving us a little bit of exposure. You put Potent Exposure on it, cooldown recovery, and Long Fuse, because you don't really care about the damage that it does. You're just there for the pulses that are going to apply exposure on the target. Here we have Fireball, we have Sion's Temper, one of the new lineage supports, It's just a better version of the Wild Charge 2 setup, essentially. We have Unleash, Fire Mastery, and Ricochet. This is only here. I don't use it too often, but in very, very densely packed areas, like endgame Abyss areas, this can be quite useful, especially if you have a Fire Remnant and you just toss it out there and toss like 20 or 30 projectiles and just clean the area. So for those situations, this is why this is here. Next, Elemental Weakness. This is going to be your curse. Your curse is going to be extremely important. This is about 50% of your damage on single target. Very, very good. Very, very strong. I would highly recommend to not forget about this. In fact, I should probably unlock another slot here to give her another support. But still, Heightened Curse, increase the magnitude, very, very, very good. Indispensable. Curse Ground, it just makes so while they're in the ground, the curse has an effect on them, and you can put 2 different curses here. And lastly, Efficiency, because it is actually very expensive to use. Lastly, we have 2 auras. We have Mana Remnant with Harmonic Remnant and Remnant Potency, gives it more effect, and this is basically how we're sustaining our mana. As long as you're hitting the enemy, you shouldn't have any issues generating these because you're critting very often, and generating the remnants, which are mostly going to refill your mana. And then we have a Cast on Crit setup. This is here to give you a little bit more single target punch. We have Comet. Comet also benefits from Fire Remnants, which gives it a bit more damage. And then we have Rising Tempest on it. Execute 2 for more damage at low life enemies. Boundless Energy to generate more energy. And also Efficiency, so our mana doesn't struggle as much. And that is pretty much the setup that we have going right now. So, I think that's everything. Hopefully you're enjoying the league. If you want to try the build, I think the build is incredibly powerful. You've probably seen it at the beginning. It one-shots bosses. It is so strong once you get it going. Archon feels really, really powerful. I know the rave at the moment is everybody's playing Black Flame Covenant for Chaos, but I really think this setup with Archon of Flame, or Flame Archon, is incredibly powerful. It feels really good to play. Currently, the only thing that I don't have at the spot that I really want it to be is the defense. It feels very difficult to scale defense. You can no longer use Wind Dancer as a caster because you need a martial weapon. It feels kind of weird, the state of the defenses for the character, but nevertheless, I'm quite enjoying the league. Abyss is great. Trade is fantastic. And yeah, I'll push the build a little bit further, get into proper endgame farming, and if I make any changes, I'll let you know. Currently, where I'm thinking to take the character here is I'm probably dropping Seed of Cataclysm and swapping this amulet for a Defiance of Destiny, because that is going to help quite a bit with our recovery, hopefully. That's the plan anyway. So that's what I'm going for. Hopefully that works. If it does, I'll make an update about it. But for now, thank you so much, and I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.